Have you ever wondered how you can validate the data that a user enters in a Salesforce Web-to-Lead form before they submit it? I'm going to show you how to do that coming up. Okay, so this is really just a part 3 in our series of the Web-to-Lead form. As I said in the intro, this time we're just going to look at how we can provide some validation checks on our Web-to-Lead form before the person actually submits it. So we had just the generic Web-to-Lead form that was generated from Salesforce. And of course, we had our reCAPTCHA information up here. So it was pretty bare bones. And what could happen is anyone could come in here and they could just fill it out. As long as they filled out the reCAPTCHA, they could submit anything. There was nothing that checked to make sure what they were entering was actually valid. So an example might be, I'm going to do this in the example today in this video, is that we only want people to submit a valid formatted email address. So that means it needs to have something before and after the @ sign in the email address. And there needs to be some sort of .com or .ca at the end. The other thing that we can do is we can do something more advanced. We can say, not only do I want it to be a properly formatted email address, but I also want it to be not from a specific domain. So for example, I don't want any email addresses that are personal email addresses, such as like a Yahoo or a Gmail account. Those will not be allowed because ideally we want valid business customers. So if we go back, and how we do this is that we're going to ask ChatGPT to generate us some JavaScript. JavaScript is a programming language that's widely used on the internet, and we can use this programming language to add this functionality to our Web-to-Lead form that Salesforce doesn't provide out of box. So if you don't know programming, that's cool because we're going to use ChatGPT to do it for us. So I'm going to click over here to ChatGPT. And I've already done this ahead of time. And essentially my prompt was, I have the following HTML form, that was the code I just showed, from a Salesforce lead submission. Could you help me by adding JavaScript to perform validation? The validation should check that the email format is correct, specifically ensuring that there is content after the @ sign and display an error message if the input is valid. So this is all about making sure it's in a proper format. I added the requirement of not having a Gmail or a Yahoo account and further down in a separate second prompt. So I added this and I pasted in the HTML, the original HTML from the Web-to-Lead form that we got from Salesforce when we generated it. Again, in one of my last videos, I'll link in the description. And it said, okay, yeah, here's what I'm going to do. So it basically spit out a response to us, and it added the JavaScript down here. You can see here it starts with a script tag. So basically, this is about blocking it if it's not formatted properly. So basically, you just copy the code, and then you come back here into our Web-to-Lead form on our website, and we're going to click into our custom code snippet, and then you just highlight and then paste it in. I'm just going to undo it because I already have something in there. And then you just paste it in and then you hit save and close. Now I'll show you where I did the additional requirement. So if I scroll down further, I'll say, great, just curious, could you also add in a validation that doesn't allow Yahoo or Gmail email addresses? Thanks. And it says, yeah, sure, I can do that. Again, I click copy code, and this is the final version that's already in there. So I'll just copy it again. And I'll come back and I'll just repaste it in just for demonstration purposes. Okay. Save and close. And I'm just going to publish my site just to save the changes on the website. And that's it. So now, if we go back to our website, I'm going to enter in a name. And I'm going to enter in an email. So let's try the first requirement about a non-properly formatted email address. So let's just say I do Bob at, I'll have to put in a company name. Now I'm going to hit submit, and boom, it gives us this error or message. It says, please enter a valid email address. Okay. So now let's try putting in a Gmail account. So I'm going to try Gmail, bob@gmail.com. I'm going to hit submit again, and then it gives me another error message saying, Gmail and Yahoo emails are not allowed. Please use a valid email. Okay, so now let's try with a properly formatted email address. So I'm going to say bob@cloudsystem.com. system, and we're going to check it off. And if we come into the Salesforce and we go to our leads object, we can see here our lead contact was entered. There's the email we said, and it got tagged as web. So we're good. And I'll provide a link in the description for that code if you want to reference it. In the event that you try this and after you submit the form, it gives you some sort of error about JavaScript not being allowed or something like that, just take the code that I generated and just tell ChatGPT, look, I want it formatted exactly like this, but just, replace it with the data you want and your Google reCAPTCHA keys, and you should be good. So why do this? What are the benefits? Well, I'm glad you asked, and I have a few here for you. Number one, it just helps when a form is submitted that everything is just filled in nicely and clean. So it definitely helps with data cleanliness and integrity, right? The more clean the data that we're getting into our system, the better. Number two, and being a security person, I can attest to this, having this validation checks in place can protect against security threats like cross-site scripting, SQL injections, those types of things. And number three, having this clean data also helps our sales teams out with lead scoring. So if we have these checks in place to make sure it's coming from a properly formatted email address or an email address that's a business address, also that can help our sales teams provide more accurate lead scoring, therefore better qualifying the leads to be followed up with appropriately. And that's another video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.